Our guest today, Jane Bomba, is an outside director for three different public companies, as well as an advisory board member for the University of Michigan, my alma mater. Before she started her own consulting firm, Saddle Ridge Consulting, located just outside Denver, Jane was the Chief Administrative Officer and Chief Sustainability Officer for IHS Markit. I'm Brock Romanek, today on Zippy Point. So Jane, we have separate Vid-Guides about how knowledgeable the board should be about ESG, what board presentations about ESG should look like. Now we're talking about the board materials, and I've talked to a colleague of yours, Sally Curley, on a Vid-Guide about how hard it is to keep up with all the developments in this space because it changes so much. There's so much coming out on it. So the board materials, I mean, board's already getting so many pages of materials, and now we have ESG changing so fast. What are the best topics related to ESG for board materials, in your opinion?
Yeah, thanks, Brock. I hate to answer every question this way, but it depends. It depends where a company is in its ESG life cycle, I'll call it, and maturity. There are a lot of companies that are just starting out, where boards have not had ESG presentations at all. And, if a company is in that category, I would say the most important thing in those first couple of board presentations is context. So, and lots of different elements in context, but how is the company defining ESG? How is ESG defined in that industry? What are the most important elements of ESG for a company that is in the industry that the board is involved with, right? Because that's very important context, because I've given the example before, but a company that is in an extractive industry, is doing oil and gas exploration and production and extraction, is very different from an accounting firm or a consulting firm. And ESG is going to look very different broadly. There will be similarities, of course, but so the board has to understand what are the most important measurements and focus areas for that industry. If they're really just starting out, maybe an outside presentation that talks about what a board should be paying attention to in the world of ESG, or at least distribution of one of the countless white papers that's been written on this subject, would be helpful, again, just as background and as context. And then I think a roadmap for how the company is going to approach ESG. So, if a company is just starting out, I think those are some of the more important things. If a company is more advanced and the board is used to getting these ESG presentations, then just like any other topic that a board may be getting updated on during regular quarterly meetings, likewise for ESG would be progress against goals, ensuring that the right infrastructure and processes and people exist to be able to continue to deliver increasing performance in these areas. I would be interested in seeing, as a board member, especially in an effort that's more advanced, I'd like to know what our constituencies, investors, shareholders, of course, what their perspectives are on our efforts. But, are we hearing anything from customers? Are there any issues in the supply chain, right? I would want to know those things as well. So again, just like any other subject that a board member would expect to see in a quarterly board meeting, I want to know what our goals are and what progress we've made against it, and certainly during our annual strategic planning session, which virtually every board goes through every year, I want ESG to be a part of that strategic discussion.
Very informative, Jane. It's always great to record something with a fellow Michigan alumni, especially since we were both there at the same time, although as far as we know, our paths never crossed.
Yes, I'm sure they crossed somewhere on campus at least at some point, or at a party or a football game. But
yeah,
it's been an absolute pleasure, Brock. Thank you for the opportunity.